Hello, this is Brian again. Welcome to the third clip of my North Tecolote Canyon hike. Yeah, the last video clip cut out again, so I just ran out of memory. Bear with me for a second here. I'm just going to close my backpack. I just put another memory card in, and I want to make sure the little plastic wrap is firmly secured and closed in my backpack so it doesn't fall out. Alright, so in the last clip I was talking about how peaceful these canyons are, and then I started talking about why I haven't been going to the mountains here in San Diego County. Well, simple reason is the relatively low elevation of these mountains means it gets really hot. It can get really hot in these mountains in the summertime in San Diego County, like Mount Laguna and Palomar. While definitely cooler than the surrounding lowlands, definitely, it's just been real hot everywhere you go, except the immediate coast, or we're just a few miles inland from the ocean here, just a few short miles. And this is kind of borderline for me. It's probably about 83 degrees, low 80s, probably no more than 83. But I don't have a very good heat tolerance, so I don't do well hiking in heat. But I mean, in this shady oak woodland, it's very nice down here. It's just also, it's kind of humid. I feel kind of humid. It's been a little muggy. Yeah, up in the mountains, it's just been really hot. Sometimes up to near 90 degrees around Mount Laguna, Julian, and stuff like that, between 4,000 and 6,000 feet in elevation. And our mountains don't usually get much above 6,000 feet. We get a few peaks, but a lot of them, to get up to them, you have to start from a low elevation and get up to them. Like, we have 2 peaks above 6,500 feet, and when the weather gets hotter, a lot of times I like to be above 7,000 feet, so it's not so crazy hot. And when I was living in OC, that meant a ride up to the San Gabriel Mountains, where I could be up in elevation. But that's a much further drive, which means more time spent fighting traffic on the freeways, and also a lot more gas money. That's quite a big ordeal now that I live an hour and 45 minutes further away than I already did. It usually took me about an hour and 15 to sometimes an hour and a half to drive to the trailheads in the San Gabriels from North Orange County, but at another hour and 45 minutes, we're looking at roughly a 3-hour drive to and from the San Gabriel Mountains. That's just too far, unless I'm on vacation. So I do miss my Angeles National Forest, I really do. But you can go up to some high elevations over there and escape the brunt of the heat. But now that I live in Santee, which is just north of El Cajon, it's been getting really hot over there, mid-90s at least. So I've been dipping out of there, getting on the 52, heading towards this area. So that's why I've been doing just about all my hikes near the coast, because it's a lot more temperate here than it is in the inland heat. So next week, towards the end of this week, we're finally supposed to catch a break. I'm gonna go hang out by this Aleppo pine. We're gonna finally catch a break from the heat, which means we might have temperatures in the 70s up by Mount Laguna. So could mean a nice hiking time for me up in the mountains. Plus, might also be able to meet up with one of my uncles who's I don't know if he still is as much, but he was an avid hiker, and he took me to some really cool spots when I was a kid. So maybe I'll meet up with him and we'll find somewhere really cool to go to. For something like that, my uncle used to live in the San Bernardino Mountains. Then he lived by Sunset Beach or Sunset Cliffs, and now lives in Oklahoma. Came out here to visit family. Something like this, I would definitely take a longer trip to a hiking trailhead, because it's a special occasion. I haven't seen my uncle in a few years, but it feels really good. The shade of this tree feels really nice. This is an Aleppo pine right here, Pinus halepensis. Nice, thick, shady tree. Feels really good under here. I think I'm going to open up a water. I see some seedlings around here too, so this tree seems to be reproducing. Get in there. I gotta just get some water. Been drinking a lot. You can see this tree has been reproducing a lot. These trees are usually very heavy cone producers. You'll see lots of cones underneath these trees. These are native to the Middle East and the Mediterranean. I mentioned in one of my videos that they can reproduce and locally naturalize. Well, here's the example right here. There's a young Aleppo pine sapling right here. There's some other seedlings, and actually quite a few of them over here. So they can reproduce around here, and they do. And here's another species of wattle. I know I was pointing out wattles in my Balboa Avenue, little canyon by Balboa Avenue from earlier today. Species of wattle I didn't recognize. This one right here appears to be Acacia cyclops. Cyclops wattle. Another Australian native that, like that other low-growing blue-green colored one, I can't remember the name of it for some reason. This one also gets well established here in our canyons. Does well in our climate and has these seeds with little red strings or coatings around them. You can see here, I think they're called fusili or something like that. I think that's what they're called. And you get these little yellow powder puff flowers. Like that thing in there in the center. That they can get kind of fragrant when they're in full bloom. Actually, there's a little scrub oak down here, a little scrub oak seedling. But yeah, that's Acacia cyclops. Those can form also very widespread thickets. This up here above it is a coast live oak, but this here in the frame, that's one thicket. There's another thicket right there in the middle. And those things can spread like wildfire too. Oh, just drank some water. I partially froze this. An old Sunny D bottle. What I did is, after I was done drinking the Sunny D, I rinsed it out, put water in it, drank it on my last hike last week. Then I emptied out what I didn't drink, rinsed it out, filled it about halfway, and froze the bottom half of it in the freezer, and then this morning I just poured water to top it off, and it has just kept me delightfully hydrated. It still does have a little bit of that Sunny D aftertaste in it, but when it's a very warm to hot day, it feels refreshing as heck to guzzle this. It just feels like heaven on earth. But, so I'm not sure how this connects to the other parts of Tecolote, because I didn't really see. I think before I hit the Chateau arrow, I should just follow the one that goes towards Balboa. That's what I did is I went towards Chateau Drive near Genesee Avenue. But you could go all the way to Balboa Avenue if you follow the sign pointing towards that Balboa. So here it is. Like I said, we're surrounded both sides by houses, parks, and streets. But yet, down here in the canyon, I occasionally might hear a car. A louder car, and of course a plane. But just about everything else I heard is just birds and wind rustling in the plants. So this is about as quick as an escape from the hubbub from just feet above us. An escape from it down here is definitely something that's definitely worth getting into, especially if you don't want to drive really far up to the mountains or something. And it's actually quite pleasant. What I'm hearing is just, besides that plane flying over, which that sound never bothers me, I just hear probably like 4 or 5 different birds chirping at the same time, and it sounds great. Of course, the beautiful California sagebrush perfuming the air with its spicy odors definitely adds an air of awesomeness to this place. So I'm going to be heading back up. That'll do it for my Tecolote Canyon hike. I'm just going to walk along the bottom here, and then eventually it'll go uphill and meet up by the North Clairemont Community Park. And I will see you on my next adventure. Hopefully next week it'll be in the mountains somewhere. But until then, until the heat wave subsides, these little local coastal canyons are really awesome little places to go when you don't want to drive all up to the mountains and swelter up there. When it cools down up there, great. But until then, these beautiful coastal canyons will keep us company. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.